The train pulled up at Susa about an hour later. There was the village again. Adu looked through the window and saw the Susa train station and people waiting patiently on the platform. Memories began to unfold in his mind as the train came to a stop. He got up and took Apia's bag as well as his own bag. "Give me this and take the two bags," Apia said, taking the carton from him. When they got down, Adu saw someone running towards them. He looked carefully. Yes, it was Boye, his old friend. Boye himself had not seen Adu. When he did, he was amazed and stood still to make sure his eyes were not deceiving him. Suddenly he shouted, "Hey! Adu! Adu!" The two friends embraced. "Adu!" Boye was not yet over his surprise. "This is like a dream." "It is a dream, Boye," Adu said, and the two boys laughed so loudly their happiness infected those who watched. "Father, what kind of trick is this?" Boye turned to his father. "You were going to bring Adu and you didn't even tell us." Apia only laughed. He was glad about the unexpected reception for Adu. He was glad to see the boys laughing and talking excitedly. When they reached Susa, Adu was surprised. It looked smaller than he remembered. There was the house he and his parents had lived in only 2 years ago. Memories flashed through his mind. He settled upon settled upon his heart. He quickly ignored his pounding heart and parched tongue and began to look around him. Boye was already ahead of them. He entered his house before Adu and Apia. Someone appeared at the entrance. It was Boye's mother. The woman ran towards her husband and the boy who followed him. Ignoring Apia, he embraced Adu with a cry of surprise. "Adu, my son!" "Adu!" Boye's mother hugged Adu and lifted him high. Adu was overwhelmed with a mixture of joy and grief. He looked at the woman who had just called him son. He hadn't changed at all. She was still Boye's mother, the woman he knew. The woman was quick to notice that Adu had grown thinner in the 2 years. The little commotion attracted other people. They flocked to see Adu in Apia's house. They came in to sit and to chat. They asked Adu about Burma, about life there, and about his aunt. They asked him about school and his friends. The rest of that day was spent talking and greeting. Everybody was surprised to see Adu once more. Before Adu had time to go out of the house again, it was already dark, save for the full moon that roamed in the trees. He stood at the entrance of the house and studied the moon. Did that also remind him of long ago? Didn't it remind him of the time when his mother told him stories? Under the full moon, Susa used not to be as quiet as on this night. In those days, he recalled, boys and girls played all kinds of games in the moonlight. He was still reliving those days when Boye found him outside. "Boye," Ado spoke out of his mind. "Tell me, why is this village so quiet on a night like this when the moon is so bright?" "Ah, Ado," Boye answered. "Things have changed. Susa is no longer what it used to be. All the friends we used to play with are gone. Two families moved away only last month." "Do you still go bird hunting?" Adu asked. "Sometimes, but not as we used to do, Adu. Things have changed. But now that you've come, well, maybe we'll do as we used to." That was not good. That that night Adu's mind was more in Burma than it was in Susa. The next day, Adu had the opportunity to look round the village. Apia had gone to town to contact the school authorities about Ado's return. If everything was alright, he would continue with schooling immediately. But as Ado went out, something told him a mistake had been made somewhere. The final blow came when he decided to go to his family's house. As soon as he entered, he was hit by memories. There was nobody in the house. The house that had shared the big compound house had moved away a long time ago. He was told. Since then, nobody had had the courage to move in. As he watched his father's door, he had a feeling it would open. There was his mother's room. It was locked. He could hear mice chasing each other in the room and dropping things from the ceiling. The house was deserted. Mahama's door was open and he felt like entering. He resisted the urge and simply stood there, surveying one place after another. His father used to sharpen his machete here. There was the shed where they kept the rice and maize. The kitchen was also open. He could also almost see his mother and Ya preparing the meals. After that, they would sit down and eat and listen to stories. Adu didn't know what he was doing to himself until he turned to go. The very act of going revived his thoughts. It was as though he was turning around from his parents. It was as if they were alive and only he was dead. He found himself unable to leave. Even though he had been in that house for over 2 hours, he turned back and sat on a stone close to his mother's room. He pictured his family going about in the same house where he sat now. He rested his head on his knees and the tears fell. Soon his whole body was racked with sobs, which he did not try to control. "Where is Adu?" Boy's mother asked Hassan. He had no answer. "I thought you went with him, out with him." "No, I was in the room. I didn't know he went out." The woman had suspected it all the time. The night before, when her husband arrived with Adu, she had spent a long time thinking about the best way to keep the boy's mind off the grief. Susa was the wrong place for him. It was unfortunate that Adu had suffered at the hands of his auntie, but Susa was no substitute for Wama. The memories were too fresh and the events too close to keep his mind at peace. If it was hard for the adults, how did her husband think it would work for the poor child? The only thing in favor of his coming back to Sosa was the poor treatment he had received at the hands of his auntie. But for that, she reasoned, it would be better for the boy to be away from this place. But she kept these thoughts private. She vowed to do everything in her power to make the boy happy. Boy's mother knew where to check first for Adu. She went to the family's house and found Adu crying out, his heart right by his mother's door. The sight saddened her so much that before she knew it, she was crying with the grieving child. Adu, it's hard. Adu, it's alright. Let's go home. They went home. Adu began to understand why he had never felt the urge to return to this place. It was a place best to be visited with the mind, not in person. When Apia returned from town, his wife told him about the incident and added a peace of mind. Apia called Adu to his room and told him, "It is only because you have just arrived, Adu. If you try to overcome this initial problem, you will soon You will soon discover that you can stay here. Try, Adu. I know how you feel. Only try your best. Adu said he would. Would you like to go back to your auntie? No, he replied sharply. So then, try and live with us. My family will take care of you, and you have nothing to fear. But Ado had already made up his mind. That, that very night he called his friend Boye outside and revealed his plan to him. I must go away, Boye. You must go away. Boye's reply showed his surprise. Yes. Why? We just arrived, I know, Boye, but I can't live in this place. Quickly he added, I want you to do something for me, Boye. But this doesn't sound nice, Adu. Why not? Wait for some days. I'm sure things will improve. You don't understand, boy. It will not work. I've thought about this very much. Please, just do this one thing for me. Sometime tomorrow morning, I will leave. When I'm gone, please tell your father and mother. Where are you going? I'm sorry. I can't tell you now, boy. But later you will know. Please, just tell them I'm gone. I'll be alive and well. Tell them I certainly do appreciate their kindness. I'm sorry for this, but it is for the best, boy. I can't live here anymore. The whole plane tasted sour in Boye's mouth, and he told Adu so, but he promised to do as he requested. The day broke slowly, almost too slowly for Adu. He had lain awake most of the night planning his escape. Apia had decided to go to the farm to visit his palms. He felt he should allow Adu and Boy to have their freedom before taking them to the farm, so he had left early. Adu waited for some time after Apia had gone and then started his plan. Boy's mother was still in the kitchen, setting the morning meal ready when Adu took his traveling bag and vanished behind the house. Boye saw him going out and shivered. Adu waded through the bush and then he came to the main path leading to the town. He kept looking around to see if anyone was coming towards him or following him. Twice he saw people coming towards him and took cover in the bush till they passed. He got to the train station just in time to see every morning train pulling away. He bit his lips for missing it. Now he had to wait for the late morning train, which sometimes came around midday. But he was determined. He entered the main hall of the passengers' lounge and sat in a far corner. He was hungry, but too conscious to buy food. He didn't want to be stopped. As he hid in the lounge, he imagined what might be happening. He was almost sure by then that his absence has been detected and that Boye had broken the news to Apia and his wife. He felt sorry to disappoint them, but he knew he was doing the right thing. Susa was now an impossible place for him to live. It was close to midday that the late morning train came by. He boarded it stealthily and hid in an obscure place in a third-class coach. As the train hooked and snaked out of the station, he knew in his heart that he would not see Sosa for a long time. He relaxed. An hour later, he was in Burma. His only hope was to find Ofori and Vicky at home. Sosa was no longer good and Burma held little hope. He didn't regret not going with Amma and her father, and he would never think of living with his aunt again. He hurried past the houses. People he met expressed surprise at seeing him. They thought he had gone to his father's village and wondered why he was back so soon. He came, he gave everybody he met a prepared reply and resisted their urge to stop for more questions. The sun was blazing. The activities in Ofori's house were hectic. The tipper truck parked in front of the house was half full with his belongings. Some of his pupils were there to see that their teacher did not lack help with his final packing. Some of them were there to see if he were if there was anything left over from the packing. They went about their duty heartedly, though once in a while a puppy stopped to stare at the beloved teacher. Ofori himself was busy sorting out what items to pack and what to leave behind. Becky was with him. "Take this," Ofori told the people and handed him a broken flower vessel. "That thing is cracked, dear," Becky protested, taking the vessel from the boy. "I doubt whether it will survive the journey, even if it did." "Hey, Adu, Adu!" Everybody stopped and turned round. "Adu!" Becky yelled again and dropped the vessel. Everyone was speechless. Adu was standing at the gate. When Becky called again, he moved slowly towards her. His bag was hanging on his shoulder as he took those fluttering steps towards his hope of survival. Ofori and Becky had expressed their willingness to take him. Would they indeed do that? "Adu," Ofori called and held the boy's hand. Everybody looked on. What happened? Before Adu could answer, he broke down and wept. Ofori led him to the room and tried to calm him down. "What happened?" Ofori asked again and waited for the boy to wipe his nose and eyes. Adu shook his head and said, "I couldn't, teacher. I can't live in Susa. Everything there reminds me of my family," he sobbed. Ofori turned to Becky and said, "I told you, Becky. I knew it couldn't happen." Then he turned to Adu. "Listen, Adu. Becky and I have already discussed this. We'll take you with us. Do you understand? You'll make you'll make your home with us. Do not fear. God will keep you. He will return your grief to joy."